remember what that meant on Tuesday when we figured out the mean from group data? Andrew, I know you did because I talked to you during the break, right? What did we do when we figured out the mean from group data? What did that mean? What were we trying to do? Well, that was weighted data. The group data was, we assumed we didn't have the raw data, we just had our histogram. Remember we had something like 4 or 2 in the first category, then 8, then 13, and then 4, and then 3. And we said if we only saw the picture, we only saw the histogram, how could we figure out the mean? You were quite bright and told me, well, let's assume everything's right at the midpoint. We didn't know where the data was, so we just assumed it was all at the midpoint. Remember that, David? We figured out the mean from the group data. We figured out all the data was at the midpoint. But we can do the same thing to figure out our standard deviation from group data. If we went ahead and said, in our groups, what is the midpoint? And I'm going to roughly recreate it here. But anybody remember the midpoints? What was our first, I think you got it in front of you. Our first class was from 60.5 to 69.5. What was the midpoint, 65? Now, how many pieces of data were in there? And the next one was 70 what? And there were 8 pieces of data in there, is that right? And the next one, I'm going to write midpoint and frequency up there. The next one was 83, and I think that was 13. And the next one was what, 92? Was it 4? And 101, there was 3, I think, right? Everybody remember that? Now, we didn't have actually the data, but we just knew that. We could actually use that to figure out some statistics. So let's go to stat, enter, and find a clean list if you have it. So I'm going to put the midpoints in list 3, or a clean list. I'm going to put what, 65, 74, 83, 92, and 101. And the only reason I'm putting it in list 3 is because I don't want to throw away my data to list 1 and list 2. Now, so in list 3 I've got the midpoints. Now I want to tell the calculator how many observations of that midpoint I need to use. So I'm going to say in the first category there were 2, and there were 8, and there are 13 with the midpoint of 83, and then what was it, 4 and 3? We get that right? Everybody okay? Everybody with me on a calculator? All right, so now if I quit out of here, and I say stat, calculate, and this is a little deceiving because it says one variable statistic. It really is one variable. It's the midpoints. But I now am going to use the other list to tell it how many occurrences of that midpoint I want to use. So I'm going to go one variable statistic, list 1, comma, list 2, or not, I'm sorry, I apologize. It's list 3, comma, in my case, list 4. So I'm telling the calculator the data, the midpoints are in list 3, but you need to go to list 4 to see how many times you need to count that piece of data. If I hit enter, it that X bar 82.4 look familiar? I think that's what we got the other day, isn't it? And look down to the sample standard deviation, 9.43. So that is compared to what we got using the raw data. But that's the sample standard deviation, assuming all of the data was actually at every midpoint. A slight difference. Question? Okay, I know you don't have a lot of time. You are free to ask me questions, free to collaborate with your partner, at least make sure that you and your partner are signed up, and everybody is signed up on my list. Everybody sign the